20 years, and I have 17 years of military service before that. As far as Jara, Jara is the Principal Technical Manager for the Cybersecurity Engineering at the NIWC Pacific. She works to deliver innovative and timely solutions to challenging cybersecurity issues for the Navy, the Department of Defense, and other agencies. Prior to coming to NIWC Pacific, Jara was the Senior Systems Engineer for the Navy's Tactical Networks Program Office, and then the Program Executive Office for Command Control, Communications, Computers, and Intelligence. She is a former naval aviator, completing 2 operational tours, 2 operational deployments aboard the USS Bunker Hill and USS Lake Champlain. She received a bachelor's degree in Weapons and Systems Engineering from the United States Naval Academy in 1997, and a master's degree in Electrical and Computer Engineering from the University of Arizona. I'll say on top of that, as you have questions and answers for Jara, what you see is a professional is this combination of many things, and that these things intersect as you go into the workforce. And as you can see by Ms. Tripiano's bio, learning takes place constantly, and that as you learn things, your ability to contribute grows. But I'll also say with Jara, you'll see that there's this intersection of leadership. So there's that academic scholarship, there's that technical ability, and there's that leadership. So I'll say what we're looking for, what the nation's looking for in cybersecurity and in other fields is the well-rounded STEM professional. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Yolanda, I appreciate that. So I'll go ahead and get started. And Ellen, I did just try to email you my slides to see if maybe that would work. If you get them, you can feel free to throw them up there. And if you don't, it's nothing too earth-shattering. We'll get through it. So I'm really happy to be here today. This is really exciting. I love to talk to anyone who likes to spend some of their free time talking about science, technology, engineering, and math, and getting involved in it. So this is very, very exciting to me. As both Ellen and Yolanda mentioned, I'm going to talk today a little bit about how I got to where I am in my career in cybersecurity, and then talk a little bit about some of the things that I think you may want to think about that might, certain aspects of your interest that might lend you to a career in cybersecurity. And if you're interested, what are some things that you could start doing now to be able to get there? Oh, great, we've got slides going. So first, to the next slide, we'll talk about where I work and what I do. So I work at the Naval Information Warfare Center Pacific, and our tagline right now is bringing information warfare to the fight. That's our new tagline. It's what we've always done, but we finally kind of found a really great way to say it. Information warfare is just within the last several years really being recognized as a warfare area that's on par with surface warfare, aviation warfare, all of the other things that our Department of Defense and Navy does. And part of that is just the importance of communication and information, and recognizing that as part of what we do. And so because of that, what we do at the Naval Information Warfare Center Pacific is vitally important. We are helping make that communication happen between ships and submarines and aircraft and soldiers. And part of what I do there then is on the cybersecurity engineering side. So while we've got engineers that are designing those communication links and those computer software programs, we also have folks that work for me that are helping making those more cyber secure. In the cybersecurity engineering division, we work on high assurance engineering. So if you're familiar with cryptography, we're helping the Department of Defense encrypt their data so it's not intercepted between endpoints. We are helping the key management, so allowing the keys that decrypt that data to be passed to different platforms so that it can be decrypted. We work in computer network defense, so just helping to to harden our systems and helping to make it so that we can detect if there are adversaries that have gotten into our systems, and then how to react to that, to detect and respond. And then the other main aspect of what we do in the cybersecurity engineering division is information systems security engineering. So while we design cybersecurity related products, like I talked about with cryptography and computer network defense, we also assist other engineers in making their systems more secure. And a big part of what we focus on there is building it in upfront. It's really more difficult to make a system cyber secure after you've already designed it and done everything, to come in at the end and say, okay, how are we going to make this secure? That's a lot more difficult than if you think about it up front and build it in. So we have several engineers and computer scientists that work to help do that for our systems as part of the Navy and the entire Department of Defense. As I mentioned, we really do focus on that system development lifecycle and getting cybersecurity built in up front. That's a big focus area for us. And then while in the past, the thought was always, hey, we're going to make our system so hard that adversaries can't get into it. Nobody's going to be able to hack in. We've now come to realize that it's really almost impossible to do that. You really, you want to be as strong as you can, but you also have to have the ability to detect once somebody gets in. So it's not just about not letting them in. You have to be able to detect and respond when and if they do get into your system. Okay, next slide. A little bit about us. So why did I choose cyber? So I chose cyber because it was just something near and dear to me in terms of when I was growing up. I just always saw, had an interest in the area of seeing how things worked and then how things could possibly break and what would we do if they broke, right? So how to make things more resilient. It was always something that was important to me. And you'll see as I talk about my path to get here, how that came about. So as I grew up, I was very interested in math, going through high school. I was active duty. I went to the Naval Academy and studied engineering there and was very interested in communication and how things worked. And so as I went through my engineering career in systems engineering, helping develop communication systems, helping to integrate communication systems, I always saw just how vitally important it was to make sure that we ensured that those communication systems were always going to be available and that we thought about what things could possibly happen to disrupt that, and how could we make it harder and harder for those things to be disrupted. Cybersecurity is all about risk and understanding what the risks are and how to protect against them. As I mentioned, it is not something that's a perfect science. There's always going to be a way for an adversary to break into the system. So the key is to make it so hard for them to break in that it's more effort than it's worth. That's basically the bottom line. You manage the risk by making it so hard to get into a system or to cause problems in a system that the adversary is not going to expend those resources or doesn't have the resource to expend in order to do that. I also think cybersecurity is a great career path and something to be in if you enjoy a challenge. As I mentioned, we're never going to get to perfection. There's always going to be, if we make something, we take something that's a weakness, we fix it, the adversary is going to find another way in. When we fix that one, they're going to find another way. So it's always a challenge. It's always changing. The technology is always changing. The threat is always changing. So it's just something that is constantly evolving, a constant challenge, and something that's really fun to be a part of, to try to figure out just how to keep things secure. One of the things that's really important to me with cyber is to make sure, because I'm in Department of Defense, it's very important to make sure for me that the warfighters that use our systems can count on them, that they're going to be there, that they're going to operate in the way that the warfighters need them when they need them, and that the warfighters can trust their systems. So while that's very Department of Defense focused, I think the same thing applies to systems out in the commercial world. Commercial industry is more and more reliant on their computer systems and their information systems. Even at school, I'm sure you've observed the schools are more reliant, especially now with COVID, on their information systems and making sure that things work and people can communicate regularly. So really being part of making sure those systems are available and that the users can trust them is something that really motivates me. Okay, next slide. So my path, how did I get here? So I just threw a couple of pictures up here to look at. I grew up in Minnesota in a pretty small town on a lake, was always interested in math and science, particularly math, and was always interested in serving my country. So if you go to the next picture down, I went to the United States Naval Academy for college because I wanted to serve in the Navy. I really wanted to be a pilot in the Navy. And so I spent 4 years at the Naval Academy in Annapolis, and I studied weapons and systems engineering. And so that is really all about understanding requirements and developing and integrating them into systems. And so that really set me up well for my career moving forward. After I graduated from the Naval Academy with my degree in systems engineering, they sent me to the University of Arizona for 2 years to get my master's degree. So I was very fortunate to be in a program in the Navy that allowed me to get my advanced degree. I got my master's degree in electrical and computer engineering at the University of Arizona and did my master's thesis on network security for Army telemedicine systems. So really studying how we could keep patient information secure between remote bases when the Army was doing telemedicine. After I graduated from my master's degree, the Navy sent me to flight school. So you can see my helicopter down there, the SH-60 Bravo. I flew the Seahawk for 3 years was my operational tour, but I was in for 11 when you include school and flight school and shore tours and whatnot. But I was a helicopter pilot in the Navy. And I will say my experience as an operator in the Navy is probably what motivates me the most about cybersecurity. When I was flying helicopters, there were a lot of electronic systems that were safety of flight related, that were keeping that aircraft flying, that were giving me as the pilot the information that I needed to make the right decisions, the right control movements, the right navigation movements, the right communication. And I was trusting those systems, and I was trusting the helicopter to react to my input how I expected it to in order to stay safe and to stay on mission. And that is something that I want to make sure that our operators can always count on. I know that if an adversary got into a system on a helicopter and made the aircraft respond in a way that I wasn't expecting, or not respond in a way that I needed it to, that would be absolutely detrimental to the mission I was conducting and possibly the safety of me and my crew. So I think about that every day when we are trying to secure our systems. We need our operators to be able to trust their equipment. After I came off active duty as a helicopter pilot, I got into systems engineering. You see that's at the top there, very near and dear to my heart. I spent about 10 years as a member of the chief engineer's office at NAVWAR headquarters. And so that's where I did a lot of systems engineering. I always had a keen interest in cybersecurity, but I wasn't directly involved in cybersecurity as my day job. I learned so much about how the Navy's communication architecture worked in that job, really working on helping systems work together. Systems engineering, making sure that a change in one system didn't negatively impact another system, so that end-to-end communication chain always worked for our warfighters. And then about 4 years ago, I moved over to the Navy Information Warfare Center Pacific. So that is our lab. It's at the end of Point Loma here in San Diego. And that is where we bring information warfare to the fight, as I mentioned. Since I've been at the Navy Information Warfare Center Pacific, I started out working on setting up a laboratory environment for the Navy's penetration testers to do penetration testing on actual Navy systems in the labs to basically assess the impact of what adversary actions could have on end-to-end missions for the Navy. So that was the first thing that I really focused on. I also focused on doing training for our engineers regarding how to get cybersecurity built into our systems earlier in the life cycle. So it's not, cybersecurity is one of those things that it's not just the cybersecurity people's responsibility. It's really all the engineers have to be thinking about cybersecurity and have that in mind. So that's something that I helped develop training for and helped work with the engineering community on. And then I became the division head here for cybersecurity engineering shortly after that. So it's just going on 3 years ago now. And in that role, as I mentioned, I lead a team of about 240 civilians, about 150 contractors, and we work in that high assurance engineering, computer network defense, and information systems security engineering. So you'll see, I guess, one thing I would like to point out about my path, it's not really direct, right? Like it's not something that shows you that you have to take the right class and then you have to go to the right, get the exact right degree and have the exact right first job. I really haven't been working specifically in cybersecurity. Up until about 5 years ago, I really wasn't working specifically in cybersecurity, but I was building up kind of that base of knowledge that has gotten me to a point where I can contribute very well in this area because I understand the operational context of the systems we work on because of my operational experience. And I understand systems engineering and how our systems are integrated because of my engineering experience. So really just focusing on areas you're interested in and learning as much as you can about them, that's really a great way to get after a degree in cybersecurity, or sorry, a career in cybersecurity. Okay, we'll go on to the next slide because I want to talk a little bit about thinking about whether or not cybersecurity is something that might be interesting for you. So there's a few things that I think are kind of the key tell signs to me for somebody who would just be great in a career in cybersecurity. And the first one is problem solving. We're always looking for people that want to problem solve, that want to know how things work. That have that attention to detail and are really interested in figuring out how things work, how things might get broken, and how we make sure that that doesn't happen. So having that type of a drive is really something important for somebody who wants to pursue cybersecurity. There are a lot of different types of jobs in cybersecurity. As I mentioned, right now, I'm more on the management side over a lot of different folks that do development of specific cybersecurity related capabilities, but also cybersecurity related services, helping engineers building security into their systems. Some of the jobs you might hear about in cybersecurity, there's a security analyst. So security analysts in general are looking at cybersecurity requirements and making sure that the systems that are under their cognizance are following those best practices and building that cybersecurity requirements in, right? Whether they're technical requirements or policy requirements. There are also opportunities for folks that are interested in penetration testing. So we have certified ethical hackers and folks with offensive cybersecurity certificates that are really working on having that adversarial perspective and looking at how they can break into systems and cause problems. And that really informs the engineers on where the weaknesses are in the systems and then how to fix them. And it's really great when you have somebody that has an offensive mindset teamed up with an engineer or designer talking about, hey, here's how I would break into it. So then they can work together. Here's what would stop me. Here's what would make it harder for me. And so then that really informs the engineer designing the system on how they can make their system more resilient. Malware and analysts are also opportunities in the area of cybersecurity. So those are specialists that look at malware, that look at bugs or worms or things that get into systems and kind of reverse engineer them and figure out how does this malware work, what's it intended to do to the systems. And those folks are really important because if we learn how that works, that helps us to design things into our systems to protect against them. That also helps us in the Department of Defense figure out who the adversary is, because different adversaries kind of have different footprints or different techniques that they use. So somebody who's a malware analyst can help figure out, who might have been behind a certain attack. And in a similar regard, there's also digital forensic investigators. So those are the type of folks that go in after there's a cybersecurity incident and really break down what happened. They use all of the digital information on the system to figure out how the cybersecurity attack was implemented. They can figure out how much data was possibly released. They can figure out whether an adversary is still in the system. They go in and really pick apart exactly what happened. And you can imagine how important that would be in our world, Department of Defense, but also in the law enforcement arena, right? So the FBI, for example, would have a lot of digital forensic investigators. Cryptographers are another area for cybersecurity. And if cryptography is something you're interested in, that is a heavy mathematics background. So folks that really are deep into mathematics make great cryptographers, and the National Security Agency is primarily who does that. We use cryptographic algorithms that they develop and integrate them into our systems, but the NSA is really who develops the cryptographic algorithms that are used by the Department of Defense. And then the last one I'll bring up is the Chief Information Security Officer. That's more of an executive level position, but as you get experience in information technology and or cybersecurity, a lot of times that's the more senior path. As you're working your way up, you can become a CISO, and then now you're developing the policy and the requirements over a larger organization for cybersecurity. Okay, next slide. So how to begin? Well, first, you're taking a great step by being here today. I would say that's one way to begin, is really just to get involved, to take opportunities to learn about cybersecurity, to discuss it. I don't know if everyone who's on the line participated in the Capture the Flag, but I'm sure at least some folks did. That's a great way to get involved and to begin. It's just, it's really just being curious and getting involved. Computer classes, any type of computer science classes, learning anything you can about operating systems, coding. Coding is important. You don't have to be the best software developer in the world, but it is important to understand how computer code works. Networking, understanding how networks work is also an important skill to have. Cloud right now is a big thing as well. So learning what you can about how cloud works and cloud implementations. There's a lot of certificates out there that you can pursue as you advance. Certified Ethical Hacker, I already mentioned. There's certificates for Cisco and Amazon and Microsoft, and getting skills in their systems. And the more you learn about those systems, the more you learn about securing them and how they work. And that's really just a big part. So really being curious and pursuing that curiosity is a great way to begin. I would encourage you, as I kind of wrap up here, because this is the last thing I was going to talk about, I would just really encourage you, if you are interested in cybersecurity and want to get involved, just to jump in and to not be intimidated. I know, I've talked to different groups in the past, and I think people think they have to know so much just to participate in a Capture the Flag, or to go to a conference and talk to folks that are in the field. And really just jumping in is the best way to learn it. And the people that have the experience, my experience has been that they're just more than happy to help somebody new that's curious, that's asking questions. So I would encourage you, if it's something you're interested in, to jump in, ask questions, get involved, sign up for a Capture the Flag. There's a lot of free online Capture the Flag type events. Google search those. Get involved and just start playing around with it and learn as much as you can. And with that, that's all really the prepared remarks that I had. So we can move on to any questions that anybody had. I think I see some in the chat here. Okay, so I'll just start, Ellen, I'll just start with the ones that are in the chat. Does that work?
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Okay, great. So I see Brianna Ramos is asking, do you think that cybersecurity and computer science in general requires a lot of patience? I would say it can. It probably depends on the exact problem you're trying to solve and the exact role that you're in. But I do think that it's definitely a long game in a lot of ways, right? Because you're looking at developing, if you're developing cybersecurity related solutions for things, it takes some time to see the end result. The other thing I think that takes patience about cybersecurity, and we talk about this at work kind of jokingly, but nobody pays attention to cybersecurity until we do something wrong. So if we make a really secure system, like, people aren't coming around patting us on the back when nothing happens. It's only when, something bad happens that it arises that, hey, there's a problem. And then, maybe we can come in and help fix it, and that's great. But there's a lot of work that goes into making systems as secure as possible. And and everybody just expects the systems to be secure, right? So when you achieve your desired end result of nobody breaking in, you're not really getting attention for that necessarily, right? Because everybody is hoping for that to be the case. So in that sense, it does take some patience. You kind of have to know that you did something great, possibly without a bunch of pats on the back, right? Hopefully that answered the question, Brianna. And if you have more, please feel free to type some more in. Let's see, Lynn J says, amazing experience. Anytime during your journey you felt defeated and wanted to give up, how did you overcome the challenging time? Thanks. I will say, when you ask that question, one example comes to my mind that was particularly challenging, and that was when the Navy and the Missile Defense Agency disagreed on a specific solution. There was a transition happening in a communication architecture, and there was disagreement on how to move forward with the solution. And it was challenging because some of that became, I will say, just whose interest took priority, right? Like if we did it one way, it was of more benefit to the Missile Defense Agency. If we did it a different way, it was of more benefit to the Navy. And how could we find the right solution that worked for everybody? And I would say just what we really did is let the technical data speak the truth, right? So just trying to keep working through systems engineering and stay with, here's what the technical data is showing us, here's what the testing is showing us, and sticking with the facts really helped us get through that. We just had to keep plugging away at it. And every time a new question would come up, we would have to go do another test or get some more data, but we stuck with it. And we ended up with a solution that worked for everybody, which is exactly what we wanted, right? That met the Missile Defense Agency's requirement, but also still was beneficial to the Navy. All right, anonymous attendee, do you recommend any cyber courses or books for students? Well, so one thing I mentioned, and I don't recommend any, there's not any specific ones I have in mind, but I do think a great thing to do is to go online and look for those capture the flag opportunities. Those I think are really, really great. Just to get your some hands-on experience, I think is great. Learning operating systems. So if you can find any intro courses to like Linux operating system, I think that Linux is particularly valuable because in cybersecurity, if you get into any of the analysis tools, or if you start doing penetration testing, those tools are generally hosted in a Linux environment. So really understanding how that works and that operating system, I think that's also a great way to start learning how to code in PowerShell. Any of those types of intro programming courses is I think where I would start. And then Anushka Shah, thank you so much for your presentation. Oh, thank you, Anushka. I didn't see a question there, but I appreciate your feedback. I don't know, are they able to talk in this environment and ask questions, or are we just looking for them in the chat, Ellen?
Yeah, there's some in the chat.
Okay.
So I know someone in chat said, I know this probably varies for person to person, but at least for you, how is your work and life balance?
Oh, wow. So it does. Yeah, that does vary tremendously. So, work-life balance is challenging. I would say I go in phases with how successful I am in balancing that, right? When things are really busy at work, sometimes the home stuff suffers for a little while for part of that. I will say at Niwik Pacific, where I work, they're very focused on helping employees achieve that work-life balance. And so for me, it's been pretty good. You focus. One of the things that I do is I really try to be efficient and stay focused on work when I'm at work. And I try to minimize the time I spend checking emails and looking at my phone and doing that when I'm at home. So I really try to be disciplined about that. I think it's very easy to get sucked in to, once you start checking an email at 7:30 at night and responding, the next thing you know, it's 9:30 and you're not sure what happened. So it's really, to have that discipline and really try to manage that, and only do that when it's really necessary, when something really big is going on. And I will say that's harder now, right? With COVID, we're doing primarily teleworking for the most part right now. And so that is something that I know has been a challenge for all the folks that work for me too. When we ask people what has been their biggest challenge, with teleworking and with COVID, that's the thing, right? Because when your work computer's right there in the home office, you know, five steps down the hallway, sometimes it's hard to walk away and have that break. So it takes an effort for sure. Let's see. What advice do you have for girls who are interested in cybersecurity but are intimidated by the environment? So, I mean, it's this obviously easier said than done. My advice is go for it. But you know, I think the biggest thing. So you know, as I have gone through my career, I've very many times I've been in a minority as a female in the environment I was in. You know, when I was at the Naval Academy, there were much fewer females there than there are now. And they're still in the minority now. And I think the tack that I always took with that is just to really work as hard as I could to do my best, so I felt confident in what I'm doing. And so I think that's my advice, is to prepare and, you know, study and do as well as you can so that you're confident in your abilities. But I also want to advise, don't be afraid to ask that question. You know, as a female or a male, don't be afraid to ask the question that, you know, probably more people in the room have the same question you do. So when you're in that environment, don't feel like, oh, wow, if I have this question, if I ask, everybody's going to look and think I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm the only one in the room that doesn't understand it. The chances are very high that you're not the only one in the room that doesn't understand it. You might be the only one brave enough to ask the question, but you're probably not the only one in the room that doesn't understand. So yeah, my advice is really try not to be intimidated. This technical stuff, it's hard for everyone. And so, you know, be brave, ask the questions, and it's better to ask the question and get the answer and move forward than to not really understand and keep going, because the not really understanding part kind of builds upon itself. So you really want to step up and advocate for yourself. And you know what? I'm going to add something else. Think about finding a mentor also, you know, find a female that's, you know, a couple years ahead of you doing, you know, going to the school, getting a technical degree that you're interested in, or in a technical field you're interested in. Get a female mentor if that's something that, you know, that you're concerned about. You know, find somebody to share those experiences with and to help build your confidence.
All right, any more questions in the chat? Feel free to ask now. I think we have about 2 more minutes to take questions. So if there are any lingering questions, now's your chance to ask. All right, I think we pretty much answered all the questions. So yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Tripiano, for your wonderful presentation. And I think we can now move on into awards.
All right. Do you want me to jump in?
Yeah, so let me just quickly share screen, and then yeah, we can go ahead and announce the top 5 winners. I just wanted to say, first of all, though, that everyone who participated did a really incredible job. I know that for most of you, this may have been your first Capture the Flag challenge, and it's a really great first step into the world of cybersecurity. So yeah, everyone did an incredible job. Most of the challenges were solved, which is really great. So yeah, we'll go ahead and announce the top 5 winners, but keep in mind that this was mainly supposed to be a really great learning experience. So as long as you took something away from it, that really makes it really worthwhile. So let me go ahead and share screen. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yep, I can see it.
All right, perfect. So yeah, this will be our final closing slides. So with that, let's just get right into the Capture the Flag Awards. All right, so just a few quick things. This is just a few statistics about challenge. So this is about the category breakdown. So in case you guys are interested to see which challenges were the most solved, and then the solve percentage challenge as well. So the first one, Ms. Tropiano, we can go ahead and announce the 5th place
Okay, and
winner.
5th place is Izzy Lauer.
Ooh, all right, congratulations. So yeah, we'll be giving out the awards following the event, and really great job getting 5th in a CTF challenge. It's not
Very
easy
cool.
at all.
All right, 4th place, Risha Guha, $50. Nice.
Yay, all right, congratulations. All right,
Yeah,
moving
so
on to
Ellen
third.
told me that third and second place were really close. The distinguishing factor was how soon they got their results in. So in third place is Tanvi Mohanty. So great job, Tanvi. And then in second place,
All right, and then second place.
Nataliana Hernandez. Nataliana, congratulations. This is exciting. So they didn't have these when I was in high school. This is just so exciting to see just that folks are doing this. Very cool. And then the first place winner is Vi Winvo. $200. Wow. All right.
Yeah, congratulations, everyone. So this is our top 5 winners, and we'll be emailing all of you following the event for your awards. But like I said, congratulations to all participants. Just by taking that first step and really attempting these challenges really shows that you're willing to get hands-on and try to learn all of these digital forensics in a very interactive way. So all of our instructors put a lot of time and effort into getting this Capture the Flag challenge set up. So yeah, we really hope all of you were able to join in and enjoy a lot. And most importantly, hopefully all of you guys were able to learn how digital forensics can be used to solve a variety of different challenges. All right, so that was the awards, but please stay in for a few more minutes because there are a few important things I also wanted to mention as we wrap up this event. So first of all, the reason why we started this whole the Future in Cyberspace program was because we really wanted to inspire more people to try cybersecurity. And we really wanted to make this a free and virtual cybersecurity program that's accessible for a lot of people. We also really want to thank the Department of Defense, National Center for Women Technology, and more for making this all possible. So as you may remember, we had a 4-part series of workshops. We also had speakers from a variety of different places, including Ms. Tripiano, Ms. Tanner, and Ms. Yonizawa were also really helpful in making this possible, and also our Capture the Flag competition. So yeah, so throughout this whole program, you should have been able to attend our 4 workshops. So we covered a variety of topics from cyber ethics to cybersecurity present day and the future. Sorry, there's a typo there. Internet protocols, as well as digital forensics. We also had 3 speaker events, so including today's speaker event. Our first speaker event was about threat modeling with artificial intelligence and machine learning. Our second speaker event was focused on cybersecurity industry, and the one you just heard was about pursuing a career in cybersecurity engineering. So hopefully you're able to learn a lot of skills in our workshops, and then also how you can apply them to the real world from our experienced speakers that we're really thankful to have. And then finally, our Capture the Flag challenge. There's a total of 2,950 possible points, and instructors also worked really hard to create these 24 challenges. So yeah, that was basically sums up our program, and hope you guys all had fun doing these portions. And we also wanted to mention that we are providing an opportunity for certificates, and we also really love to get your feedback for this event. So we know all of you guys have been working really hard and learning a lot, so we'd like to recognize your hard work through a certificate. And I can put this in the chat right now as well. Let me see if I can. All right, and please fill this out. It's only going to take a few minutes, but it's going to be really helpful for the feedback and for any future opportunities, as well as if you do want to get a mailed certificate, we'll also be providing that with this feedback form. Let me stop sharing for a second so I can easily put this in the chat. So yeah, it'd be really great if you could take a few minutes to fill that out. And then, okay, and then I also want to thank all of our speakers. So we had Ms. Kelly present our first talk, and then Mr. Harrington and Ms. Tripiano, who is here with us today. I also want to thank Ms. Tanner and Ms. Yonizawa, who are also panelists and who are here in the Zoom today for their support in this program. All right, and finally, I want to thank the Elevate the Future SD team. So I know all of us put in countless hours to make this possible, working on the curriculum, trying to find speakers, also setting up the Capture the Flag challenge. So yeah, I really wanted to thank everyone who's been working behind the scenes to make this all possible. So one final thing, there's also a post survey by the National Center for Women in Technology. So after you're done with the certificate and feedback survey, this survey is also really short, and it'd be really great if you fill this out as well. And then a final quick reminder, just a sort of logistics thing. If you attended the event, please make sure that you filled out the consent and release forms, which were emailed. All right, I'll put this in the chat as well. But yeah, that concludes the presentation and the closing slides. So thank you so much for joining in. And we really hope you enjoyed this program. And yeah, feel free to reach out at any point and let us know what you feel in the feedback form. We also have a Discord server, so if you want to join in and keep in touch with us, that's the best way you can probably reach all of our instructors. All right, thank you so much for joining in. I see there are a few things in the chat as well. So yeah, thank you guys for attending and great job during the Capture the Flag Challenge and the program. Thank you, everyone.